I don't know what's happening with my computer. I clicked the countdown thing. It didn't come on my bloody screen. I thought we were all live. Never
We
mind.
are
Hey,
live.
we're here. We're here. We're live. That's all that matters. Hopefully that doesn't kick in about 30 seconds. The countdown.
All right,
Uh,
that would be.
It would be bloody brilliant.
That would be intrusive, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
It would be, mate. How is everybody doing tonight? We are talking about Flashpoint. That's our review for this week. Hope you've all read it and ready to see the Flash movie. That's why I picked it. To be fair, try and get the views in. So Flashpoint written by Jeff Johns, art by Andy Kubert. Synopsis is Barry's in a different timeline, and everything's going wrong. He's getting different memories. Some superheroes are missing, some are different, and he thinks it's all reverse Flash's football. But the little twist at the end, which we'll save for later. I'll just give you my quick overview. I was a little bit confused going into this book because I thought we were going to get the bit where Barry Allen goes back in time, but instead he just wakes up at his desk. That confuses us a little bit. But further on into the book I liked it. I thought the art was good. But it did leave us wanting more story. I would say because it's only a 5-issue run. I definitely thought they could have snuck a little bit more in there. We'll just go around the table and let's hear everybody's thoughts. Pete?
Yeah. So I read this back in the day when it first came out, and I clearly remember enjoying it back then. Even though it's probably unfairly stacked from my point of view against it, because Wally West is my Flash, not Barry Allen. And I hate the New 52, which is what this leads into. But in my memory, it was a good book. Went back and read it for this show, and I struggled with it. I have to say, I really struggled with it. I'll touch a little bit later on, Pete, on some of the problems with this book in terms of it spends a lot of time explaining what's happening in other comic books to you. So you get pages and pages of dialogue telling you about, really what's happening in other stories, and it misses big bits out. In terms of artwork, again, I don't know if it's just as getting older. I used to love Andy Kubert's work. I really didn't like this. There was bits where I'm looking at it. Yeah, bits where I'm looking at it. I just think there are times when it looks great, and there are other times where I just think it looks rough. And I don't know if that's just because I'm falling out of love with his style or not. I'm not sure.
Maybe.
But yeah, it's an interesting book. I'm pleased I went back and reread it. But overall, I have to say, not blown us away.
Yeah. Just before I get to James and Luke, because I'm a bad host, I did forget to say hello to everybody in the chat, so I'll quickly go through the chat. First up is Comic Day. I'm doing bloody brilliant, Anna James.
Hey, mate, natural. You're a natural.
Hiya, Phil. Sean's in as well.
Okay, Sean.
Got my buddy Sports Collector in. How you doing, mate? Hope you're well. Phil saying, I read this a few years back. I remember enjoying it, and I love the art when Flash was flashing. Was he flashing in this book?
Constantly.
Running. The art was great when he was going really fast. Okay. And hello, Connie. And then the animated movie is better.
Yeah, very good, the animated movie.
Yeah. So, James, your overview?
First of all, I just want to say that I think Phil's comment, the art was great when he was going really fast. That's just comment of the day, I think. But yeah, so I don't read an awful lot of DC. I'm similar to Luke in that respect, that I don't read.
Yeah.
I can't remember the last DC book I read. I don't really know much about the Flash. So outside of the main DC characters, I don't really tend to know an awful lot, and the Flash isn't one that I've really ever read or know that much about. So I wasn't looking forward going into reading this, to be honest, which is why I put it off until today to read it. Hoping the show will be cancelled. No, no, of course not. But you know what? I actually really enjoyed it. I think there were parts where, again, I think they were bogging it down in terms of dialogue with explaining who all the characters were and their stories.
Yeah.
And there were a load of tie-ins as well outside of this main 5-issue. And primarily there was like 60 titles that came out for it.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there was a lot of things that, like Pete said, that were referenced that happened elsewhere. But aside from that, I actually really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the new spin on all the characters on there, and it was interesting to see new spins on characters that I don't particularly have a lot, invested in. So for me, I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Good. How about yourself, Luke?
Yeah, so primarily I'm a Marvel guy, always have been. DC very much for movies rather than comic books. But over the years, a lot of people have recommended me some DC stories, and I've rather enjoyed them. This one came quite highly rated by a few of my friends. However, I absolutely hated it. I thought it was shite.
Shite. Yeah, I like that.
Can't wait till we get to the scores. But here's the thing about Flashpoint, though. If you've been around comics for any length of time, you're going to know the story anyway.
I think that my biggest problem wasn't what it was at face value, again, because I don't really know anything else about the universe before or after this. I know bits. But like Peter said, there was a lot of like pages and stuff just for explanation, which I just thought took you out of the story. But then also a lot of it just doesn't actually make sense. Like the whole concept of like the time travel and how his powers work and where he ends up and everything, it doesn't work out. I wrote a load of notes. You know me with time travel.
Oh yes.
But yeah, I just thought it was bad. Sorry.
My favorite part in the book, we'll get to the issues, I'm sure, Pete, but just with Luke saying it doesn't make sense. My favorite part in the book is, for those of you that aren't kind of DC aficionados, Barry Allen's powers came originally before they introduced the Speed Force and all that kind of stuff, because he was hit by a bolt of lightning in his crime lab, which had a big shelf of chemicals, and all the chemicals splashed and thus creating the speed. Later on, it develops that's the Speed Force. In this one, when he wants to recreate his powers, Bruce just happens to have a few bottles of, I don't know what the hell it is. It's just, I just grab some, any chemical, doesn't matter what, douses with this fairy liquid and it'll be grand. And it's like, what? That's not how it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one of my points.
There you go.
But Bruce Wayne has everything in his cave with his mountain. They had
That's
enough
very
materials
true
to even build a suit.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, but then that bothered me as well, because suddenly he can rebuild his own suit. But I get that he's super fast and he probably learned how to do it a long time ago, but I didn't think of him to be a seamstress.
Yeah. You're right.
Time to learn.
He's probably got a little vial and he bat flash chemicals or something like that. It'll be on his...
Did he name I'm pretty sure he named what the chemical was too, didn't he?
I know.
Yes,
I know that
did,
I know that this is like getting way ahead, and we can bring this up nearer to the end as well. But they resolved all this just because he ran a little bit faster. It's like, I believe in you. You can do it. Just run a bit faster. And lame.
Trying to see what the
Ninhydrin. He was looking for some Ninhydrin, whatever that is.
That's the one. Yeah, so we'll quickly go through it issue by issue. Like I said, it's only a 5-issue run, so it shouldn't take us all night.
Oh, I thought that was it. I just gave my opinion. I thought it was off.
All right, say that, man.
I mean, you can go now if you want.
So we're on to issue 1.
You want me
to
you
took the slide. Yeah, cheers.
Yeah, good bud.
Hopefully it doesn't kick us out this time. So yeah, we're coming to Flashpoint issue 1. Barry Allen's back as the Flash. He has been for a good couple of trades now. Jeff John brought him back. We find him asleep at his desk. This is a bit that threw me when I first started reading the book. So I was expecting to give a little bit of backstory to what's been happening, but you don't get any of that. You just get Barry asleep at the desk. No one's heard of the Rogues Gallery. Captain Cold is now Citizen Gold. Barry doesn't have his powers, and his mum's alive. So, the world is truly upside down. Then you get to meet this version of Batman, Flashpoint Batman, who, when we first meet him, he's thrown a criminal off the roof.
Yeah.
So he's a really hardcore version of Batman. And then Cyborg mentions the Atlanteans and the Amazons at war, and how the Amazons have took over the UK. It's now New Themyscira. And then you get Barry going to the Batcave to find Bruce, but he doesn't find Bruce. Finds Thomas Wayne instead. I did write some down at Gaskers. I understand why they start the book the way they did, but did anyone else find it strange how they start the story?
So I guess you've got to remember that at the time the normal Flash comic was running side by side or led into this. So actually it was if you were reading the monthly Flash and it kind of stopped or paused, I think, for this, then you picked this up. It was quite an interesting jar for the reader because you kind of thought, oh, hang on, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? So I quite like that. My issue with this is kind of what I've already said. If you haven't read all of the follow-ons, you're missing out on great stuff in some regards, because they're just kind of giving you snippets of stuff here. Do you know what I mean? And you need to. So, for example, one of the best things of this story is this reveal, I think, at the end here. I think that's a brilliant twist. I hadn't seen that before.
Yeah.
Thomas Wayne being the Batman and stuff. But I guess if you haven't read the tie-ins, you won't realize he's so mad to get the Joker and find the Joker, because the Joker's actually Martha Wayne, his wife. And that's a great twist and an excellent kind of addition to the story, which you kind of get none of here. So I'm being probably over negative. I just think, this is a mini-series, a 5-issue mini-series that really does suffer from not having enough time to flesh out some of the interesting parts of the story, which are happening in other books, and you just get in snippets,
Oh, no, I absolutely agree, mate. Yeah. I've said from the start they should have added more content to the book. Yeah. Then we fly over on to issue 2. James, Luke, did you have anything to add about issue 1?
Well, I did say the series was rubbish, but to be fair, the Batman stuff was probably the best bits of it. I know a lot of people are really excited to see the new movie that's coming out, primarily for Batman as well. But yeah, like I enjoyed these sections of this story.
Yeah. Yourself, James?
Yeah, no, I mean, again, not knowing much about the Flash, I thought the way it was just opened, like cold opening was fine, because I didn't need to know anything. The only thing is, because I don't know an awful lot about it, about the Flash and the Flash sort of characters and all that. When they were talking about the Rogue Gallery and Citizen Cold and all that, I was like, I didn't know, then this was not right. This was not normal timeline, if you know what I mean. So it's only when he's questioning himself about what's going on that I'm questioning. And I think for me that sort of worked, because I was on the same emotional journey that Barry Allen was on. But yeah, so I actually quite enjoyed it that way. I think if they did try to set it up any other way, it probably would have bogged the start of it down a lot. So yeah. The only thing I didn't really like was obviously when they were gathering the sort of the superheroes together to try to get them to go to fight the war. Because I don't know who half the people were.
Some of them were image characters, right? They were brought over from like things like Youngbloods and stuff like that. They weren't even DC characters, which threw me until I had to then look it up and question why they were here.
Some were Wildstorm characters, weren't they? In DC about Wildstorm. But no, I liked it. Yeah.
So going back to what I was saying about how things just didn't really work or make sense with the whole time travel thing. If he lost his powers, how did he get back to the present? Like how does any of this actually work? Was he just then pushed forward back in time? Because obviously, like, we see him waking up at his desk, but like how? Like if by saving his mum, he is automatically then loses his powers because he no longer becomes the Flash. How does the time travel stuff work? Surely he would be stuck. Surely he'd be stuck in the past.
Comics, innit?
In it.
Yeah.
But the problem
There's
is that it's shit comics. Isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, you're absolutely.
Am I
right.
wrong for wanting
No.
more? Or
No,
is this-
you're absolutely right. It,
Oh, yeah,
it
right.
doesn't make.
No, you're
sense.
wrong.
because then also we have the Reverse Flash, right? Who is only the Reverse Flash because the Flash existed. But if the Flash lost
Well,
his
he-
powers and
he
then no
explains
longer
that.
existed,
Yeah, he does explain that.
To be fair, he
Yeah.
explains that later on, but in a very
Right.
convenient. I happened to be running through the time stream when this all happened, so I've been removed from reality.
Yeah, it exists outside time.
Yeah.
see,
It's
this
a
is bad.
paradox.
This is bad. You know, like Peter, we explained time travel movies on one of your streams before, and you know, we mentioned some great films.
Yeah.
This is bad time travel writing. This isn't good at all, in my opinion.
Jeff Johns, are you listening? You shit.
Right. Time travel expert, Mr. Hydra Collectibles, PhD in time travel.
I'll step down off of my soapbox now.
I think you need
So
to
you
do a
know if your
whiteboard video
soapbox
about
pop
this.
in your DeLorean.
But I guess, no, yeah, I'm trying to excuse it, Luke, but you're absolutely right. I guess the only way I would in my head make it clear, even though they don't tell you in the book, is Reverse Flash is always fucking with the Flash and always trying to cause him pain. So it's theoretically possible that Reverse Flash picked him up and ran him to this point in the future for some bizarre reason.
Because I
That's the
always
only-
Because
I
he's a
always
dick.
figured that the reason why the Reverse Flash doesn't ever kill him is because without him he wouldn't exist.
So that did you read the book? That is explained in the book. He says exactly
Yeah.
that in the final battle. He says,
Yeah.
you know, in the past I've not been able to kill you, but now that you've conveniently done all this whilst I was out the time screen, I can kill you now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you're right. Again, and this we'll talk about it later, I'm sure. This is in one of those big, long, convoluted pages of explanation.
Convoluted.
That makes no sense.
I just feel like as someone who is relatively new to DC and doesn't read a lot, this doesn't make me want to read anymore. And I'm concerned that if this is the way that DC write their stories, then maybe I don't want to.
I don't think that's exclusively to not enjoying this. Like, I enjoyed this, but I don't want to read anymore. I still don't want to get invested in the Flash as a character. So you know,
I do wonder. Sorry, GP. We're only
No, you go ahead, man.
I do wonder if I'd be negative about this because I've read the 5 issues, but in my mind, Flashpoint is something much better, and it was a really enjoyable story. I do wonder if that's again because it hasn't got all the add-in bits yet. And when I think of Flashpoint, I think of having seen what happened with Aquaman and Wonder Woman and the beheading of Mira and all that kind of stuff, because you see that in the other books. You see the battles, you see the formation of all the teams and stuff. And that's probably why I'm so disappointed with this, because I know what else is out there that we're missing. Do you know what I mean?
We probably should have started on them books, shouldn't we?
Well, no, because there's about 4,000 of them. You know? It was a bit like, do you remember when, and again, I might be wrong because it was a long time ago, but do you remember when X-Men did the Age of Apocalypse and they cancelled all of the titles and replaced them with X? You know, I'm sure this did the same. So a lot of the mainstream titles disappeared and were replaced by World of Flashpoint books. So it was like the entire DC universe stopped and was just World of Flashpoint. So it's literally all you read, really.
Yeah, because wasn't there like something like a Dick Grayson and Deadman?
Yeah,
as
Dick
well.
Grayson, Deadman. There's a Lois
Original
Lane.
Green Lantern.
Yeah, well, see, I've got a slide for you later on.
So again, this goes back to what you were saying again on your stream on Saturday, wasn't it? With the Red Goblin stuff, where they introduce a tie-in arc that just ruins the rest of the story. So wherever any of these stories were before, they just got upheaved, right?
Yeah, but the point was, Luke, that it was ending. So the whole point of Flashpoint is that once those miniseries ended, that run ended. So they moved on to New 52 after that. So everything restarted again. So, for example, things like Justice Society of America, which is a phenomenal book that Jeff Jones was writing at the time, just stopped and never came back for about 5 years at the end of Flashpoint, which is why myself and probably some other fans don't like Flashpoint, because it kind of signaled the end of the DC universe we liked.
Yeah.
Right.
So sorry, Peter, and I know you want to get on with with your show.
No, it's fine.
Does that mean that that original DC universe, is that completely gone now, or has it ever come back?
I, if I'm being really honest, I spat my dummy at this point. I read a few of the new 52 books and hated them. Quite liked some of them. Batman was very good. Hated what they'd done with Flash and various other characters. The original idea, I am sorry, GP, I'm sounding like an old fart.
No,
The original idea was to reinvigorate and restart this from scratch for a new audience, sexy young characters for young people. And then within a couple of years, they realised that was screwing them over because all the old farts like me walked and weren't interested, but wanted to see original Superman.
All the people that are actually paying out the money for comics.
So then they started to try and reintroduce some of those characters using the character called Pandora, which was the Get Out, and you'll see at the end of the book.
Yeah.
That kind of fell flat in its arse. So then they did a reintroduction again of some other characters, and then there was another reboot, and then there was a new 52 new or some shit, and then there was 52 Rebirth. Basically, at this point in time, for a lot of the characters, we're back to where we were, I think. We've got Justice Society is back, proper Superman is back. You know, I think it was an experiment that worked for some characters, but fell flat in its arse for others.
Right. Brief history of DC.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's because I don't know any of this. So again, I'm taking this completely as these 5 issues, and that's it.
Yeah. What are we doing? So we're going to issue 2 then?
Yes.
Hold on, Pete, before you do it now.
No, we've got another half hour.
Let's keep it moving.
This is the most fiery I've ever been on one of these.
It bloody well is, Luke. Oh. So, coming to issue 2, starts out with Deathstroke as a pirate.
Yeah.
An Aquaman boards his ship, kills Deathstroke. Don't know why. Just does. I can't remember why. Probably
tie-ins
in there.
Because of tie-ins.
Basically,
Aquaman
owns all the seas now, and you can't go sailing without him killing you.
Bastard. Then we pick up back at the Batcave. Barry's memories start to change. This is the timeline starting to take effect on Barry. He uses Flash ring, and then we get the reverse Flash costume popping out instead of his red costume. And there was a big back and forth between him and Thomas Wayne, and then he says, "I'll need to get my powers back." So he takes up. This is where he goes up onto the roof, uses some of them handy chemicals placed around, and tells Batman to throw the switch, and he gets electrocuted, and it doesn't go well. Do you know, I wrote stuff down here, and I think we've already gone through it. I was going to ask, does anybody else feel like they could have put another issue in this book? We've already basically mentioned that, yeah, they could have. Pete, do you want to chuck the slide up with all the missing stuff?
So, yeah, so that's them kind of. This happens throughout the book where you get these horrible kind of 8-panel pages where it's basically, I think, trying to explain what's happening in all the other books. And that's because there's all of these tie-ins. Some of these were one-shots, but the vast majority of them were 3-issue miniseries. So there's a hell of a lot of books tied in this. Some of these were really, really good. Really, really good.
Not to nitpick at your slides, but I highly doubt Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic was a Flashpoint tie-in.
Where's that?
Oh, yeah, this is that. That's just
exceptional slide. Exceptional slide. Must have missed that one.
Well, I say it is a lot, and I know the omnibus that's out, the 10-year anniversary one. A lot of people complain about that because it's not mapped very well. Like some stuff happened before Flashpoint. That the way I heard they've done it is to put everything in order as it came out, month by month.
Right. Yeah.
And so that omnibus is screwed up. I don't know if they brought a new one out that's remapped.
Don't know.
But do you get any of these in the Absolute Edition, like Pete, or is it just
the Absolute Edition is just the 5-part miniseries and then some kind of black and white sketch pages and things like that. Right. I think you have to get the kind of the big thing. But this is a key point. Pardon me. There's a miniseries there called God of War, which was a really good miniseries. And I think at one point in this book, I don't know if you guys remember, Flash is battling and Grodd passes panel and he goes, "Oh, look, there's a Grodd." And that's it. That's kind of all you get. It's like, why fucking bother? Why even put it in? Do you know what I mean? If there's no link to anything, because it makes no sense, you know. Some of them were superb. The Green Lantern was very good. Batman, Dark Knight, Night of Vengeance was excellent.
Yeah, I think I need to pick that one up. Like,
yeah, Project Superman was all right. That one was bonker. Canterbury Cricket. No frigging clue what that was all about. It's a big green
he
cricket.
turns up at Flashpoint, so
Yeah, 3 issues of him being a cricket. I don't know, not mine. Yeah,
this is the boost of gold. There was a few issues of that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's everything. If you want to read the whole Flashpoint, crikey, it's a lot.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I said I wanted more issues, but that's a bit ridiculous.
Just in regards to issue 2, before we move on, GP, you know, so how long do you reckon they needed to wait until there was a lightning storm going on?
No,
right? Because it was awfully convenient.
Batman's got a special button on his bat roof. Bat lightning.
Right. Is that just
probably that's a web of wizard chemicals tied up somewhere?
Bat chemicals, yeah.
Bat chemicals. Bat lightning.
But I liked what when they introduced the whole idea, obviously, of his memories sort of starting to fade or starting to be overwritten by the current timeline he's in. That's a pretty cool sort of piece. Now, at that point, I thought it was pretty cool, but it did drag on. Like they sort of made it like that's like a ticking clock before his memories start going. You know, but there was never any sort of.
It reminded me of Marty McFly with his hand disappearing and just being like, "Oh, now there's some pressure here now."
Yeah, but I don't think they ever really paid. I suppose actually they did. Didn't they? There was when they brought him in to see the Shazam boys. Girls. Then he was like off his foot. Yeah, so no, I like that aspect of it too.
Look, any points you want to make on the issue 2?
No. I mean, now that you mention about the lightning, that's another thing to add to the list of like how it just doesn't work and
that's twice they timed that to perfection.
But that as well speaks of what a superb character Barry Allen is as a hero, because he's got no hesitation there, has he? Need me powers back, stick us on his chair, throw some bleach on us, and hit us with lightning. Do you know what I mean? There's no thought of the risk involved there. He's just crack on, just do it.
Yeah.
Batman doesn't mind.
Barry Allen?
Batman doesn't mind. Yeah, fair play.
He doesn't.
So
I heard that was just a normal weekend in Newcastle, though.
It is, yeah.
So I presume, based on being a speedster, as it will, someone with the power of speed, I guess he has to constantly be eating and drinking and everything in order to maintain his metabolism, right? Because obviously, once he gets his powers back, he does heal from all of those burn injuries.
I might be wrong, Luke. I might be wrong, but certainly back in the day, that was the original theory, that he had to consume calories to increase his speed.
I think they mentioned something like that.
But I think when they introduced the Speed Force, they kind of did away with that a little bit. So when they started saying that he was powered by the Speed Force, which is an extra dimensional entity kind of thing, that powered him rather than the calorie content.
Yeah, I remember seeing that in several shows. I think Heroes done it with the Speedster in there, and then there was another show called like My Super Family or something like that. It had to go.
They did it in the Flash TV show as well. They said he had to eat loads of calories to maintain his metabolism.
Yeah, I do it as
well.
I'm
sure it gets
mentioned. So Batman excuse cheeseburger, right?
Yeah. One day I'm going to be super fast because I eat so many calories.
Passes by chocolate. Yeah, so going on to issue 3, Cyborg's talking to the president. He failed in an attempt to get a super team together. So the president of the United States said, "Well, look, don't bother. We don't need you. We'll do it our way." Basically, that's what it was. Then, Barry's burned to a crisp. But he wants another go at it. And he does. And gets his powers back. So he's flashing about. And then we pick up on New Themyscira, which is the UK, and Lois Lane goes to meet the Resistance. We don't know who the Resistance is in total at this point. Then Barry, Batman, and Cyborg go to find Superman, and they find him, break him out of his prison, and he basically buggers off.
I love
and
that.
They're left surrounded by the guards. Did any of you think he was just gonna get out of there?
I didn't at the time, but then it makes total sense that he would, because he's not been raised with any morals or anything, right? He's been from the moment he was a baby, he was just locked underground, which I loved, by the way. I loved that they kept him away from the sun, which obviously depleted his powers and everything else. And so the minute he comes up and sees that sunlight for the first time, he's just like, woof, off he goes. And it made me chuckle, made me laugh out loud. Why did his spaceship act like a bomb on New York City as opposed to on the farm? Why was it different?
I think it's where it crashed. It just caused
it went to Metropolis, didn't it?
Yeah,
but obviously when it landed in Smallville, it didn't explode or
no, I don't think the ship exploded. I think it can't believe I'm frigging getting passionately explaining Flashpoint because I think when
I'm just pointing out how bad it is.
when it hit when it hit Smallville, it hit dirt in the field. My understanding was when it hit Metropolis, the ship didn't explode, but whatever it went through as it would exploded. So you had kind of electrical fires and explosions and that kind of stuff. Not necessarily the ship itself acting like a bomb, but maybe I'm wrong. That's how I read it.
No, I think it makes sense. If something falls from space, it's going to cause a good bit of damage, you reckon? Yeah.
I liked
how it hit a building.
I liked how malnourished he looked as well. I liked the difference in design, because if you're away for years.
Yeah. There was 3 ships, right?
Yeah.
So they said there was so they called it S1, S2, S3. So they said they walked past what was S2, which I assume was Crypto. Because he was just like Bones, the K9 Bones. Yeah. That was quite funny. Not that dead dogs are hilarious, but
I think in the Superman graphic novel, they're trying to use their DNA to create super soldiers. Yeah. I think that was the premise of that one, which sounds pretty cool, to be fair.
Did they say what the 3rd ship was in any of the tie-ins, or what?
I can't remember. I would imagine it's Supergirl, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Or Power Girl.
Yeah. What date was this again, GP? Sorry, just don't know. I've got it. When did this come out?
Was it 2011? I think was it. I read.
It would have been around that time, wouldn't it?
Yeah. That was when New 52 came out.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2011 is spot on, James. Yeah. Then we'll just go straight on to issue 4, Pete.
Yeah, I did think this was cool, man. This bit where he got his powers back, I quite liked that bit. I liked him seeing Batman. But yeah.
Oh yeah, because Batman was about to get impaled, wasn't he?
Impaled, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So issue 4, we see the Shazam kids that we've seen in issue 1. They're still debating whether to join the fight against Aquaman and Wonder Woman. We'll stop with that. Then we see Hal Jordan. He's not the Green Lantern, just a normal test pilot. They give him this new missile to go fire upon a new Themyscira called the Green Arrow, which was I thought was a cool tie-in.
Yeah.
But they're fighting Batman, Cyborg, and the Flash against these soldiers, and it's someone called Element Woman, who I'm not familiar with. She comes in and saves them. She's a bit bonkers, but you have to have a bonkers character in a DC comic. And then Barry's memories are still changing. But at the same time, Billy Batson's seeing the Flash's memories of the old timeline. Yeah. So I think that's what makes him want to go and fight. And you get this bit about Batman who's wanting Barry to change the timeline back, so it's his son who lives. And then we get to see Wonder Woman and Aquaman fighting. And we find out there was Wonder Woman who started it all off by killing Mera, decapitating her. And then during all this big war, the character called the Enchantress, betrays the heroes. Billy Batson gets killed, and then the Reverse Flash shows up, and that's that. So when they killed Billy Batson, I thought that was pretty dark, because at the end of the day, he's just a kid. Did any of you see that one coming?
No, I like I think so. With the Element Woman, I sort of got the idea that they were trying to make her appear to be the sort of mole for the Amazons, right?
Yeah, because
she was like creeping around behind Cyborg and stuff like that, and she was very eager to sort of know the plans and getting bored of the team. It turns out she just wanted to be on a team, per woman. And then it was actually the Enchantress one. So obviously, again, just from the 5 issues, she didn't really have an awful lot to play. Although she did suggest her team, whatever team she was part of, were what was it? They couldn't join, or they were incapacitated or whatever. So I'm wondering, did she sort of wipe them out just so then she, as part of the double cross? But yeah, so I think that the reveal of her being the spy, it wasn't great because again, there was no investment in that character and their motivations at that point. I don't know if the tie-ins sort of would sort of develop that a bit more, but what she did was obviously take the powers away from the Shazam kids, and that led to them being brutally murdered, which is great.
Yeah, which is always great.
It was a good. I think it was a good point. Again, I don't really know much about Shazam apart from like that first horrendous movie, but it wasn't that bad actually. It was all right, but obviously knowing that they're kids and they end up just being depowered and kids in this battlefield, and then just it was definitely a good turning point for that.
Yeah. Luke, I take it you didn't like this issue.
No.
Nah.
None of it was terrible. It's just, again, like you guys keep saying, there's so much more to the story, but really in these 5 issues, nothing happens. Like it's,
Kid gets killed.
He does,
yeah.
That happened.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Are we going to pick up on at some point that James's favorite part of this book have been seeing a dead dog and seeing a dead kid? Is that something we need to?
I think we're just going to pave over.
Flag with someone, or I mean, this was again like Luke. This was an okay issue. I did find it funny that this war has been going on for ages, and the superheroes haven't kind of involved themselves. We've got the bit in issue 1 about no, we're not going to take part and stuff. Barry, who nobody's met before, wanders in and says, "How are lads? Let's go and fight overseas," and they'll go, "Fair enough." It just, in terms of storytelling, it's not good storytelling. The death of Billy surprised us, but it didn't have much of an emotional impact. And I don't know if that's because at this point we knew 52 was coming, so nothing mattered, if you know what I mean.
Connie's been
I did like the bit at the end where you get the reverse flash, because I do clearly remember first time reading, still thinking at this point that this was the reverse flash had done something, that it was his fault. Do you know what I mean? And so
Phil saying there's a big massive F off omnibus collecting everything, but it's Tomb Date and so I think it's about 1,500 pages, mate.
Jeez.
It's absolutely mammoth.
The beast.
For me as well, not having sort of read any Flash really, that I didn't know who the Reverse Flash was. All I knew about the Reverse Flash is what was told in this book. So having that reveal at the end, it was I was sort of in two thoughts about it. It's like, okay, well now we've got the main antagonist here. Yeah. Or protagonist, sorry, coming into the thing, and they sort of bigged him up as the sort of, I guess, like the anti-Flash, and that was I was definitely on board with that.
Yeah. See, I knew about Reverse Flash from the TV show, but I knew a little about him from the comics, but not being a big Flash reader.
So I think if you were a Flash fan, the Reverse Flash is basically Flash's Joker. He's his arch enemy kind of thing. He appears all the time. So I went into this series, having read all the previous Flash issues, 100% expecting the Reverse Flash to be the big bad, the enemy. And I think they did very well throughout this to kind of keep planting that image. So you saw him flashing past you. He obviously gave Barry or dropped the ring for him to pick up with his costume in and all that kind of stuff. So they did a good job of a bit of a bait and switch on this, I think, in kind of making you think it was the Reverse Flash.
Was he the one? Was it in maybe? Would have been the first issue that there was like a segment where there was just a voice bubble saying, "Oh, it's good to see you live, Mrs. Allen," or whatever it was.
Absolutely.
So that was like I assume that was him sort of going so fast that we couldn't see him.
Yeah,
because the Reverse Flash is a massive dick.
Yeah, basically. Yeah,
it really is.
Yeah.
Phil saying, I think we can all agree the best Flash is Wally West.
Absolutely, Phil. Absolutely.
Wouldn't know. I haven't read any Wally West.
Oh, read some of the Mark Waid of Terminal Velocity is incredible.
I don't even know what a Wally West is, but it sounds hilarious.
Yeah,
it's like rhyming slang. Is that not like rhyming slang for a vest?
He's basically the Flash.
This is my Wally West.
Yeah.
He's basically the Flash, just he's got ginger hair. So obviously he's already 10 times ahead. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He's superb.
That brings us into the last issue 5. And this is where we find out it was Barry all along, going back to save his mum. Reverse Flash just tells him all this and vibrates against his head. That sounds wrong. I know. Just to put his memories right. So you just get Reverse Flash acting like an asshole. Batman kills him. As you can see in that panel there. He's bragging how nobody can touch him, and then
What he's saying is that the Flash can't touch him now because he's like, he's like, you can't do anything, and then Batman's like, oh, but I got him.
Yeah. And then we get
which was nice. I actually realized again someone's dying in that panel, and I'm saying,
I know you fucking love it.
It was I'm not painting a good picture here, but no, again, it's just that because he's all bragging, oh, nobody can kill me, and then obviously sword through the chest.
Yeah, Connie, that's Barry Allen, who Grant Gustin played.
Wally is in that series as well, but
yeah. So is Jay Garrick.
Yeah. Original Flash actor.
Yeah, he was. He was in the 90s. Yeah.
I've seen that.
You've seen that one. That's all right.
I've seen that one. Yeah. Or the first one.
And then you get Yeah. Then we get a Grifter and the Resistance show up for some reason. They don't do much. And then Superman comes back. It makes Human Peter out of the Enchantress, which is like my favorite panel in the book.
Yeah.
It's that one right there. Barry starts to fix things, and then we see the 3 timelines. You took that slide up, Pete?
Yeah, sure. Just to go back to Luke's point earlier on about basically fixing anything by running fast. That is very true, and that's basically that's the fallback answer to most Flash issues. So he runs a little bit faster.
CW show.
Yeah, catches himself, stops himself from doing stuff. Basically, that's Flash in a nutshell.
It's just lame.
And for speedster characters and stuff, they've got to build up, and I totally get that. But what I did find to be lame, as Luke would say, what was the device used? What was the treadmill called?
Cosmic treadmill.
Cosmic treadmill. Right. Obviously, as a guy who clearly hasn't been on enough treadmills, the thought of a cosmic treadmill is just absolutely ridiculous. Like,
scary thought, that isn't it?
A normal treadmill's bad enough. A cosmic treadmill.
The cosmic treadmill is used as a kind of MacGuffin constantly, for getting them in and out of shit.
I can't wait for the Galactic Cross Trainer.
Supreme Stairmaster. Yeah, so we get this splash page which shows Barry trying to fix things, and it's showing you all these different timelines. Get the new 52 one in the bottom, current timeline. The Outsiders. Is the Outsiders? What's the Image one's called? Image one?
Wildstorm.
Oh, Wildstorm. Sorry, I'm thinking Outsiders. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, this person in the hood, I think she's called Pandora.
Yeah.
She's one who basically tries to put things right. Is that right? Later on in the.
Yeah, so they slap her face in it, and then she appears, I think, in every issue or most issues of the issue ones of New 52, but kind of in the background. And I think it was basically the get out clause. So if people didn't like this and it turned to shit, they would use her as look, it was all but then as the stories went on, it got more and more convoluted and complex. And I can't even remember how she ties into it all now, but at some point it's all down to Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen. He's actually been manipulating them and shit, and it's like, it gets very confusing.
You get Watcher vibes from her, right? Marvel's Watchers, right?
Kind of, yeah.
So I suppose that's all the tie into Doomsday Clock.
Yeah. So Doomsday
Yeah.
Clock is when the Watchmen kind of get introduced, or Dr. Manhattan at least. And then, like I say, I lost the will to live very quickly after this, so I've kind of jumped in and out now and then, but not paid any real attention to
Right.
the overarching DCU. I've read some of the newer comics, but that's about it.
Next week, Doomsday Clock.
Yeah.
And
But can we
these,
just look at Jim? Can we just look at Jim Lee's designs for the characters? Literally, it's
Yeah.
just metal-y plating type stuff and lines all over the costumes. I just don't
You leave Jim alone. Just leave Jim alone.
It's awful.
which is what's at the bottom right? Is that
Yeah,
the
yeah,
new
yeah.
52? Is that there?
Yeah,
Yeah, that'll be the new 52. Yeah.
And then what's the bottom left? Just current.
that's kind of the old, the old
And then
team,
so
I think.
top left is Vertigo, right? The Vertigo universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Something. Yeah.
Wildstorm. And then what's the top right? Just a
Top
mix.
right is kind of all of your more
They were all
quirky
missing.
DC stuff. Say again, mate?
I think they're the ones that went missing, wasn't it? Like Swamp Thing.
No, Swamp Thing was in the Vertigo
The- the-
universe. I think they were all kind of characters that had been introduced, but had very complicated backstories, like Supergirl and things like that.
Right.
Kind of 100% remember. Or it might have been, was it Earth 2 and Earth 3 or something? Different versions of Batgirl and stuff. Can't remember.
Right.
Because you've got two
memorable
two
then,
Alan
memorable
Mans
people.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't explain any of that in the panel, though.
No. This
No,
was
no.
the Jeff
Keeps you
Jones.
guessing.
Jeff Jones back in the day, and I think he still does it, was kind of a master of some of his books ending with these kind of one-page spreads where it gave you hints of what was going to happen in the next year. So you'd get a panel of a character and things like that. And this was basically that, I think, trying to explain. And can we just say as well, sorry, I know I'm whinging about the artwork, but that image of Flash is obviously a kind of a homage to George Perez during Crisis on Infinite Earths, when he did that fantastic image of the Flash running and dissolving. And that's just dog shit. It just looks... Yeah. Sorry.
Never mind.
You want us
So,
to move on?
I thought it looked all right. Yeah.
I genuinely was worried that I was going to be the only one shitting on this. Like, I was worried that I was going to walk in and everyone would be against me. But to hear that other people know that it's bad as well.
No, look, Pete just needs to go to Specsavers.
Yeah.
I mean, technically,
So-
there's nothing wrong with it. That's,
This is-
solid. It's solid.
Try to draw that on a Monday night. I was going to ask if any of you had a favourite issue or favourite part, but
I've got a favourite part, and I've got a
go for
slide
it,
on it.
Pete.
This is by far, I think, the best scene in the entire 5-part miniseries. If not the entire series, I think, is these last few pages. Absolutely crushed it. I thought it was beautiful. Yes, some of the dialogue and stuff's a bit ropey, I think, but just seeing Batman kind of vulnerable for the first time, I just thought it was a lovely touch. Really enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
so I didn't mention this, but Thomas Wayne gives Barry a letter when he gets back to his own timeline. He goes and takes it to Bruce, and obviously a letter from Thomas Wayne to
I was
Bruce.
expecting it to be blank or to disappear. Like, I didn't think that he would be able to bring it with
Stop
him.
watching Back to the Future, Lou.
That's how time travel should work.
Or wouldn't it be a kicker if he had written on the letter, "You were a disappointment"? I'm glad you got shot.
I'm glad you died. Yeah.
Oh, God. Should say how your mother turned out as well, son.
Yeah. I did. I thought this was a nice touch to
Yeah.
kind of end. And again, I'm sure at some point in the Doomsday Clock or something, which is an absolute mess. Don't read that. Don't make me read that one, Pete. It's awful. But I think he actually gets to meet the Flashpoint version of Thomas Wayne at some
Right.
point. But yeah.
So tell me this, right? Because this ending I didn't like. I thought it was too soap opera-ish for what's been happening in the 5 issues, and I get why they done it, and they wanted to play on everyone's heartstrings. But up until that point in the DC universe, has Batman ever been involved in like multiple universes or dimensions or worlds? Because like I just because I don't know, but I'm thinking of like some guy, Flash walks up to me and says, "Oh, I just met your dad from an alternative universe, and here's a letter." Like, I wouldn't believe it. Like, I would be like, I wouldn't cry over it anyway. Although I don't cry at all because I
full of
have
shit,
no
Barry.
heart. But
So
yeah.
that's a really interesting point, James, because yes, he had in the previous DCU, because there's been all kinds of bizarre bonkers cross-world events. There's the Earth 2, there's the kind of the Ultraman and Owlman versions of them. So yeah, he's well used to all that. But this scene here is set after Flash's reset. So this is New 52 continuity, where actually you're right, it makes no sense because in the New 52 continuity, there isn't that backstory. He hasn't had all that. He's fairly new as Batman and all the rest of it.
So this isn't even the Batman from before the series.
No, this is
a different
reset Batman. Yeah,
it's even worse, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I expected when Barry got the new timeline. Sorry, Luke. I was expecting when Barry got back to his timeline, everything would have been a mess anyway, and you were seeing the ramifications of all that. Because it's always the butterfly effect, and then you change something in the past, it alters the future.
Yeah.
Which it does going into the New 52, but
maybe I'm remembering it wrong. So people in the comments, please do let us know if I'm remembering wrong, because it's 15 years since I've read this. But I thought this was the reset of New 52, which actually makes no sense, because if it's a reset of 52, I didn't think Barry Allen remembered the previous universe, unless he does. But I thought everybody started with a fresh slate, no memory of what happened before. I think the New 52 books picked up like a year later or something as well. So this universe had been established for a year. It's that shit. I kind of better even try and remember what happened.
Pete, we've seen in this, though, his memories do go a bit fuzzy sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
because I do know that at this point, like I say, Wally, my favorite character, and this was the upset for a lot of people, because was it Nightwing as well? In this new continuity, Wally West had never existed, and I think Nightwing had never existed. So you got no explanation about where these characters were or what had happened to them. Justice Society wasn't a thing. So the Justice League was the first iteration of superheroes. You know, so Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, it was them. There was no history, what they call legacy characters involved.
Yeah,
it's bullshit. What a bullshit.
I just always think of Batman as a grounded character, a sort of a more realistic take on a sort of superhero genre, apart from having a bloody dinosaur in your back cave or having a back cave. But it's just, if like, you're at work, one of your work colleagues comes in with a letter from a dead relative, are you gonna say, oh yeah, that's awesome, oh, I'm so sad? No, I'm not.
There would be questions asked.
There would be questions asked.
Yeah. So we're just going to skip over New 52 and go straight to Rebirth. That's the big take from all this.
I mean, the truth of the matter is, sorry, I feel like I've hogged the screen time tonight. The truth of the matter is that the vast majority of this is bullshit. The Batman title was pretty good, and there were a few other good titles, but a large proportion of it was crap. Whereas now, if you're rereading, I don't know what the new title is. I think it is Rebirth or something. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
But they've just relaunched Superman.
Again now. Yeah.
They've just relaunched Superman. That's like 3 or 4 issues in. They've just relaunched Nightwing. That's a few issues in. They're really good stories. So I'm sure there was good stuff from the past, but now is probably a good time to jump back onto DC and pick up some of the books. Titans are back, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. James, any good bits?
I genuinely did like it. Obviously, the good bits were the dead dog, the dead kid, and the dead bad guy. They were good. They were definitely my favorite parts. Can you go back a few slides, because I actually didn't pick it up at the time, and I think, Pete, you said it was your favorite slide where Superman sort of that one there, he comes down, and I didn't actually pick it up when I read it, but that is him basically squishing the Enchantress, isn't it?
So
I didn't pick that up, but I like that piece too.
So just to clarify, dogs, children, and women, you like to say die, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically, I wish everyone would just die. just leave me alone.
Don't worry, folks. We'll get a therapist to him soon. Luke, any favourite bits?
In a peaceful way.
Yeah, like I say, I enjoyed a lot of the Batman stuff, but my favourite bit was actually Superman just coming out and just sodding off. Like, it genuinely did make me chuckle, and of course it makes total sense. He has not been raised the same way. He doesn't know the Kents or anything else. He doesn't owe any of these people anything. He doesn't know them. So I did enjoy that.
Very good. So we'll go to points out of 10. We'll start with you, Luke.
Yeah, it's gonna be low, and it's not gonna be low because I'm trying to make a point of it being bad. I just believe that, you know, I said that certain books were a 10 out of 10, and they have to be that good. So, you know, it wasn't terrible. Maybe like a 4.
A 4, right? Pete?
This is a hard one to score because I do worry that I'm overcritical of it. I know I enjoyed it when I read it the first time round, but I enjoyed it because I was reading it month by month with all of the surrounding add-ins. I think if you read it that way, I'm sorry, I'm eating an M&M. If you read it that way, it's a much stronger story all in all. If you literally read these 5 issues, I just feel it's a bit lacking. It's not terrible. The art for me isn't the greatest, but I don't know why I'm not particularly vibing towards Andy at the moment because I do like his art normally. It's got some nice scenes, but it's very average. So I think I would probably give it a 5.
Yeah, no problem. And James?
You know, I did enjoy the story. I know I usually come on and say, oh, it was too many issues. They could have knocked it down a bit. I think this one, they probably was perfect for 5 issues. It's, if anything, maybe it was a bit short because it did just seem to just go and go and go and go. It was beat after beat after beat after beat, and there was very little sort of respite. Aside from like Pete said, those 8 panels every time where they're just telling stuff that, you know, we'll probably haven't or not going to read. But I liked the art. I thought the art was great. It was very sort of 2010 style superhero art. The colors. I think it's Alex Sinclair. He's a really good colorist as well. I thought that was all done well, especially during the battle scenes and everything. But yeah, I think I'm gonna. Yeah, it's the first Flash I've ever read, so I'm probably going to say I'll give it a 6. I'll give it a 6.
Nice.
A 6.
I enjoyed it. I really liked the art. Obviously, the initial start of the book wasn't the best for me. But yeah, I enjoyed. Yeah, I liked it, so I'll give it a 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah, because I enjoyed the story. So I'm just going to.
See, I enjoyed the story, but it didn't make me want to read anymore. You know what I mean? It didn't say.
What did you give it again, James?
6.
4 and a 5. Right, I'll just work out these scores. Do you just want to go around to let everybody know what you got coming up? Pete? On your list.
What have I got coming up? So I've got my usual kind of toy and comic related video each week, so 2 of those. I'm starting a new series of how-to videos, so they'll be coming out probably this week or next week. Live shows, I've got 2 live shows on Friday night because Alona's, my wife's out, so I'm going to do with Andy at 8 o'clock. We're going to do a review of this week's comic books. And then at 10 o'clock, I'll do a 1/6 scale action figure show. On Saturday, we've got the usual geeky live show where we're going to do the usual kind of geeky news and stuff. Plus, we're going to do a bit of a review of robot-based movies. So we're looking forward to that. And then on Monday, we've got our top 3 favourite comedy movies. So myself, Efren, and James T. Keegan will each be presenting 3 favourite comedy movies and 1 worst comedy movie. So quite a bit. Also, just to mention, sorry, JP, just to mention.
No, go ahead, mate.
This is I've got a lot of people lined up to do that. Very pleased to say I've got a couple of comic book writers. So starting off with John Lees, he's going to be coming onto the show. I've forgotten the gentleman's name, but another guy who Reggie Collects has put us in contact with, who's going to be coming on the show. And then, as usual, various people from the comic and toy community coming on.
Yeah, very good. Luke?
Yeah, I've had a busy week this week. I've released maybe 3 or 4 videos this week, with another one coming on Friday. And that's going to be based on Secret Invasion, just in time for the new Disney Plus show. So obviously there won't be spoilers. It's more speculation based, but it's taking a look at some of the things that I would have liked to have seen Marvel do, both prior to this and after this.
Good. James? Anything?
No, I have currently nothing planned, nothing on the radar. Apart from this fantastic show.
Oh, thank you. That's big praise, mate. If you stay tuned tonight, I have a shout out at 10 o'clock tonight. It's a little paranormal one. Should be good. Next week, Paranormal Pete. Next week, we're going to be reviewing Secret Invasion. How about that? And the TV show's out at the same time.
Great
Couldn't
mind.
have planned it any better.
Couldn't. And then we're going back to the whale because James has still got his choice coming up. So does Efren and Simon. Feel free to scout 6.5 for this book. I've actually added that to this. This has given us average score of 5.8, which makes it the lowest scoring book, lower than Noctera.
I think that's fair.
I don't think it's fair though. Noctera is dog shit.
What's number one?
Punisher still.
Very good.
Yeah. Volume 2 is coming out soon.
Yeah. I've just read the last issue a couple of weeks ago. It's very good.
So did I.
I'm waiting for the trade, so no spoilers. But that's it for us this week. Thanks everybody in the chat for joining in and leaving your comments. Until next time, we'll see you later. Say bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, you press that one as well.